PK, so thoughts on the performance today?
Yeah, I mean, we had a really big build-up that we wanted to do justice to the day. We sort of talked about some of the stories of ANZACs, that some of us had experience with, and talked about what they went through. Some of the stuff they were doing, like, my great uncle Rolly was buried by a shell, was buried under it for 8 hours before they got him out. Got treated, was deaf, and so they put him back into the tunnelling brigade, digging tunnels under the German trenches, and that's sort of, it's almost surreal to think about that was the reality. And so we wanted to make sure our performance today, even though you can't compare to that, just showed the perseverance and the hardness, and we called it a test of character. A day like today with the wind, as crazy as it was, there's no pretty footy. It's just you've got to grind it out. You don't have a choice. And so the guys did that well. You could call it an ugly win or a scrappy win, but we didn't have a choice on a day like today. We just had to grind it. And, the Tigers challenged us a couple of times, and I thought the response was really good. And we controlled that game for most of it, particularly the second half. We really controlled the game and just slowly grinded it out. And, so it was almost fitting on ANZAC Day that it was a day that there was nothing pretty, there was nothing easy. Just had to dig deep and push through it, and the guys did that well.
So do you think it was more a reflection of the conditions in that first half, or did you boys have a bit of a slow start today?
Oh, look, I did comment in the coach's box in the first quarter that there was a bit of bye rust. Coming off the bye, you could see some stuff that just wasn't quite there. At the same time, like, some of our really best players, who are extremely skillful players, were missing kicks that they would normally make, and I think the wind had a lot to do with that. We had a bit of rust early, but at the same time, as I said, the conditions were, as Barry Hassett, our team manager, said, that's just a typical KG5 slog, when the wind's going across the ground and makes it tough. So, like I said, we could analyse that it wasn't the prettiest of wind, but today was never going to be that, and so I'm really pleased with the way guys stood up and showed a lot of character.
I thought Callum Daly and Aiden Grace were really important down forward in these tough conditions today.
Yeah, two pretty handy players. Cal's tremendous with his work rate. He plays a couple of different roles for us. Sometimes it's like having two players with the things that he can do, and he's disciplined to execute them. And then obviously Gracie just worked really hard today. Like, it's the sort of day where a key forward or a marking forward can say, this isn't my day, but he just knuckled down. And we said before the game, be prepared for ugly, and you've got to adjust. And I just thought he worked tirelessly and clunked some really strong marks and kicked a couple of goals, and Cal kicked 3, and so pleased with those two. They've been great for us so far.
And what were your thoughts on the performance of John Gerard, the ANZAC Day medalist?
Yeah, look, John Geard is a great story for us. No, that's all right. Geardy's, he had been a fringe player at our club for quite a while, and last year, I think it's fair to say our list was the skinniest it'd been for a long time, and allowed a lot of young players to take opportunities, but it also allowed Geardy to step up and test himself, and we had some honest chats about what he needed to do, and he really stepped up, and now he's in our leadership group this year. Won the medal today. Like, his work around the contest was sensational. Himself and James Webb, like Jimmer could easily have won that medal as well. Particularly in the first half, he really carried us at times with his work rate and his hardness, and really pleased with those guys. And don't forget Ben Camerick too. Like, he just keeps buttering up week after week, and his work rate is also just outstanding.
And next week, the big trip up north against North Launceston. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one this year, like with the centennial year, sort of round one, it's like, well, we want to start the year well. It's important to play well at a tough ground like Windsor, and then we have the Heritage game, which was really easy to get up for, and then we roll into Clarence, the arch rival, so there's a real build-up for that, and then ANZAC Day this week, and now we roll into North Lonnie, who are our great modern rivals. Always tough to play anywhere, but tough to play up there on a really big ground like our ground as well. So, they were the one team we never really got a handle on last year. We beat them once when they had their entire back line was out sick, and but the other times we played them, we just didn't quite get our game going against them. So we've got a lot to prove. The recent history between these two teams is big time. There's a heap of respect between the clubs and between the players, but it's really fierce out on the ground. So after the game, I said to our players, who do we play next week? And they all knew, they were all ready for it. So they'll enjoy the weekend off, but then, looking forward to next week. It should be great.
So Trent, a pretty good first half today from the boys, but just couldn't finish it off in the second half.
Yeah, I thought the first half from both teams was really competitive, and with that, it was a bit tricky breeze out there today, so it probably wasn't really going to be pretty in terms of ball movement, and both teams cracked in really hard. Third quarter, I think we were down in centre clearance and stoppage, which allowed them to get some inside 50s and some repeat inside 50s, which put us under the pump. And I think the third quarter was the one where our pressure numbers really dropped down, our tackles dropped down from where they were the other three quarters, and that was the one that sort of came back to hurt us at the end of the day.
Who did you think were your strongest contributors today?
Oh, I thought our guys down back, Will Poland was really good on Aiden Grace. Gracie probably had a few shots, like it was a tricky day for set shots, but I think Gracie kicked 2 maybe, and I think he's kicked 6, 5 and 4 or something like that. So I thought Will Poland's job on him was really good. Blake McCulloch was really strong for us behind the ball. Micah Reynolds coming in too. And then through the midfield, Kieran had a lot of the ball again, going by our stats, and Ryan Matthews. I think that they were pretty strong, and yeah, it was a bit of a tough day forward of the ball in terms of delivery and getting it in there with the breeze. So our back line stood up. I thought they were really good under a fair bit of pressure for most of the day.
Yeah, and so the back line today worked really well, but who do you feel were the best?
Oh, look, I probably think, Will Poland, his job on Grace was really good. And Blake McCulloch, Blake played on Jay. Jay floated up to the wing at times in the second half. So there were times where Blake was our spare, which was really good. I thought his intercept marking was really good. And Blake uses the ball really well. He gets onto that left foot of his. And yeah, so I thought those two were probably up there in our top two, along with Kieran, because Kieran's work rate through the middle. And as he does, he had a lot of the ball today.
Kieran's really... His ball use has been really good this past couple of weeks now.
It's just great to have him in the side. Like he's a hard guy to play on as well, because I think he wins the ball at the contest or in close, but he's got such good agility. Like he's very hard to tackle. Like Glenorchy put a lot of pressure on him today, and it was pleasing to see Kieran work through that and still have his usual game in terms of his possession, his work rate around the ground.
And Lockie Griggs has also been playing well for you boys.
Yeah, Lockie Griggs was great. I probably was a bit remiss to not mention him amongst our best. I think he was definitely in our top 6 as well. He uses the ball well for us. He plays outside, inside, and he's really taken a step up with his footy this year, which is great for Lockie, which is great to see.
And Michael Paul was also pretty good down the forward line today.
Yeah, he gives us that option. Yeah, he just gives us that presence, Mick. He draws the ball to him. He's pretty magnetic in that regards. Hard to kick it into him today with the breeze, and we had that same thing at Lauderdale as well. So I think he's not far away from really imposing himself and getting a big bag of goals. But as long as he's presenting for us and he's still got good pressure, he's doing his job for us.
And next week, the big trip up to Launceston.
Yeah, so first road trip for us, and it's good. We've had those 2 sort of 5-day breaks, so our games have been a bit compressed. So we get an 8-day break now, so the guys can go away over the weekend, relax, let their hair down. They've been really diligent with their recovery and preparation for these 2 games. So they've sort of sacrificed a bit in terms of their weekends. So we'll let them relax and have some time with their family, and we'll come back in on Monday and get ready for. Lonnie's probably tracking pretty similar to us. They're having those 4 or 5 goal losses to those top echelon teams, and so I think we're pretty similar. So it'll be a pretty good battle up there, and get together and be on the bus and get away and get out of our environment and get in somewhere that's a little bit uncomfortable, which is good. You have to embrace those challenges. So we'll get on the bus in 8 days' time and see what we can do.